Hey guys, so in this video we're going to create the first cold spell, which will be Ice Spike, because it's the last damage type we haven't done yet, at least from the damage types I have created. And what it's going to do is we're going to summon ice spikes from the ground that will damage enemies and also slow them. And this will also be a targeted spell, which means that we will need to have a target before we can cast it. So first thing, again, there is a link in the description where you can download this animation, which is called Magic Cast 3. I think this will work very well for this one because it looks like he's summoning something from the ground. So just import it, change it to SK Mannequin, it's retargeted already. And after you have done this, we also want to create the ice spike mesh that we'll be using in Niagara system. So let's go to modeling. And here we're going to just go to create and we're going to create cone. And the default one is fine, but before we press accept, let's just change this to current folder. And let's go to our third person and mesh folder, meshes. And here I'm going to create new folder, which will be ice spike, so we can keep it nice and organized. And in here, then we can just go back to modeling and press accept. So this will create this cone. We're going to rename this to SM or ice spike underscore SM. And then I also want to deform it slightly so it looks a little bit more like an icicle. So go to mesh first. We're going to have to remesh it so it's easier to actually edit it, and press accept, and then go back to deform, and here we're going to select dynamic sculpt, and I like to use just a move type. So, and you can just kind of like move this, you know, the top, kind of make it bended, maybe not as much, Control Z, and just kind of like, yeah, deform it on all sides. Doesn't matter too much, you won't see it because we're going to apply like translucent material on this, so you will just kind of see the outline. So just make sure it's not straight, and you kind of just move it around like that. There we go. That works for me. You can spend some more time on it if you like, and just press accept. And then what we want to do is we want to also create the material for it. So right click, create the material, and this will be ice spike underscore M. Open it up, and here on this node we're going to change the blend mode to translucent. Shading model will be unlit, and then we just need to get color, so hold 3 and click, and here we're just going to select some frosty color. So I like to use something between dark blue and a light blue, so this color here, and then I'm going to multiply it, so hold M and click, or just search for multiply, and this will be the value for emissive color. So I want to have it slightly emissive, so I'm going to multiply it by 3, and then we're going to multiply it again, so again hold M and click, and we're going to multiply this by particle color, so we can use it in the Niagara system for particles, and then connect it to emissive color. And then opacity I'm going to change to something like 0.7 manually, so it is slightly bit see-through like ice would be. And then apply and save, and now we do have a material and we do have a static mesh, so we can just go ahead and create Niagara system. So save all, just in case, so you don't lose progress, and we can close this material or close this magic cast, and then let's go to third person, effects, right click here, and we're going to create Niagara system. We will just create empty one, and this one will be ice spike underscore NS for Niagara system. Open it up, and here we're going to right click and add new emitter. Again, we're going to add minimal one, so here from the corner. And then what we want to do here first is change the sprite renderer, so delete it, and we're going to add mesh renderer because we want to use the ice spike mesh we created. So for meshes, open it up and search for ice spike. Then we're going to enable material overrides, add one, open it up, open it again, and this one will be the ice spike material. Right, we don't see anything because we don't have any spawn, so in the emitter update, add spawn burst instantaneous, We will leave it at spawn count 1 because this will be the main spike we want to spawn in the middle, the big one. And then the smaller one will be different emitter because we want to rotate them. So go to emitter state. Here we're going to change the life cycle to self, once, and fixed. And loop duration will be, let's do 2.5 seconds. So it will be very short, but then in initialize particle, we want to change the lifetime of the spike to only 2 seconds. So usually you leave the emitter to live a little bit longer because then it has time to actually finish all the particles. So this one is 2 seconds and the emitter as a whole is 2.5 seconds. So now it doesn't look like much as well because we also want to resize it. So in the initialize particle we do have mesh scale mode. We're going to do non-uniform because we don't want to scale it the same way on all of the axes. So we want to do 0.5, maybe like 0.5, so we'll make it slimmer, and 0.8. Oh, 0.7 maybe. Whatever you prefer. I mean, we'll test it out as well, what works best. I'll leave it at 0.8, so it's a little bit longer. And now we want to add velocity because we want to move this spike when it spawns from the ground up. To actually position it into the ground, we can do position offset here in the initialize particle, and we're going to do minus like 220. I've tested it out, this should work the best for everyone, so do minus 220 because that's the kind of length of the spike. And then we're going to, in particle spawn, we're going to add velocity. And here we have some dependency issue, so click on the second one. We need to add both of these. So fix issue, that will do apply initial forces, and then in particle update we also need solve forces and velocity. And then go to velocity, this one here, add velocity, and here we want to leave it at linear, and it is already set to 50 on the Z value, so when it's spawned, it's going up, as you can see, very slowly. So what we're going to do is change this velocity speed scale to 50. Now it's a rocket shooting into the sky. And what we pretty much want to do, we only want to have a few milliseconds when it's moving and then stop it. And to actually stop it, we're going to go to particle update and do scale velocity. And there is multiple ways you can actually do it, so the spike would actually move just certain amount, but most of the solutions involve the scratch pad, which is kind of like blueprints when you do your own calculations and stuff, and I think this is just way easier to do it like this. So we're going to add the scale velocity, and then here I'm going to change this to curve, vector from curve, and then we're going to turn off the x-axis and y-axis, so we can only see the z one, because z is the important one which moves the actual cone. And we're going to change this key data, the second one, if you select it, to 0.05. So after 5 milliseconds it will switch off the velocity it will change the velocity to 0, so it will stop moving. So as you can see, 5 milliseconds it goes up, this will just come out of the ground, and then it will stop. So this is the whole solution that I wanted to do. And then I think that is pretty much all for the main spikes. So I open some code here. I'll just save it. We can test it out by going to player. In combat graph you should have some testing buttons. If you don't, I recommend setting something simple up like I have here. And as you can see, I'm spawning the fireball when I press B. So I'm going to change this to ice spike and remove the rotation. We don't need the rotation. And that will spawn it on the player location when I press B. So now if I play game, press B, there you go, there is a spike being spawned right under me. If you don't like the color, you can play with the color a little bit. I think this will look good, and it will also be a little bit shiny in the dark, so because it has emissive color, so I think I'm fine with this. And yeah, this will just be one spike, and now what we want to do is create multiple spikes going around it. So this is the harder part because we need to rotate them. And Best thing to do is let's duplicate this main node, so Control and D. This one we can rename to small spikes. This one we can rename to main spike, main spike. There we go. And we don't actually need velocity here. We can delete it. We can delete solve forces and velocity and scale velocity. This will just appear straight away. And in spawn burst instantaneous, we want to have like 10 of them. So this will be 10 smaller spikes. On the mesh renderer, there is just one thing we need to change, and that is in if you open this index, you do have a rotation here. So I have been playing with these values for a while as well to actually make it look like proper eye spike. So here for the rotation, we're going to change just the X value to 45 degrees. And then apply initial forces. Here in the particle spawn, we're going to do initial mesh orientation. So this will allow us to actually orient it the way we want to. We're going to orient it to vector. And then for the vector, we're going to click next to this and do random range vector. And the vector is going to go from -10 and 10. So it can kind of go left or right. This will be -10 and 10 as well. So kind of forward and backward. And then the last one will be 5 and 10. The reason for that is because we only want to go, we don't want to go under the ground, like down. We only want to go up in kind of like 45 degrees radius. So that's what we need to do. Then here, if you don't see this, just open it up. There is like a little arrow, and we're going to change the mesh axis to orient to 0, 0, and 1. And you can still see the spikes are only spawning to one side. So also for the rotation, we're going to do 45 degrees, 45 degrees, and 90 degrees. And now we should actually have spikes. If you look at it from the top, you can see that the spikes are going in each direction randomly around the main spike. But obviously the main spike is higher than this one, so what we need to do is make them smaller. So in initialize particle, we're going to first change this position offset to -120 only. So now they're pretty much on the same side and same height. And then we want to change the size here. We don't have to do non-uniform, you can do random non-uniform. And change it, for example, to like 0.2 to 0.3. So they're randomized 0.2, 0.3, and 0.5 to 0.7 maybe. Yeah, there we go. And what is going to happen? This one's going to appear straight away, and then the main spike will kind of spike through it, which I think will eventually look good once we add some mist and other stuff. And we also want to change the color here, so we can do it in initialize particle. And in color mode, we're going to do, let's do random range. I like to use this one. And then for the first color, again, I'm going to do something like frosty down here. I change the V value to 3. And then second color, we can do something like, like deep light blue, deep blue, and change the V value to 3 again. So now you don't see it as much, but then sometimes they are a little bit bluer, these icicles on the side. They are all emissive, so you don't see much difference. But now if I test it out, what's going to happen is, bam, I got ice spike like this. You can see it's spawning around the player, and it's kind of look like now it's exploding under me. The main spike is actually very fast. You can slow it down and play with the values, so you can change the vector and all that stuff to make it look slower, but I like to have actual explosion when I cast this spell. So this is the main part with the spikes. Now I just want to add one effect that will make it look a little bit better, and that is the kind of like a mist around it, like a frost mist. For that, we're going to add emitter, and this time we're going to be using fountain. And here on this fountain, we're going to change the emitter state again to once, fixed, and 2 seconds. For spawn rate, we're going to 90 is fine, maybe do 80. And then for sprite renderer, we're going to use the mist. So there is by default in Unreal Engine, or maybe starter content. If you don't see it, try to download the starter content, sorry, and that has M material smoke sub UV, this one here, which I think is default one that exists in Unreal, or as I said, in a starter. So now at the moment it's like shooting up. We don't want to do that. We'll fix that in a second. But here what we also want to change is we do have sub UVs. I explained it in one of the videos. There is basically different, there is 64 sprites that we want to use. We were doing it in the toxic cloud, so we want to be basically looping through this, so we animate the mist or a smoke. So what we need to do is in sub UV images, we need to tell it how many images it has, and it has 8 times 8 images. And then we will should we leave gravity force? We can leave very small one, like -10 here on the Z value. And drag one I'm going to delete. Scale color I'm going to we will change the alpha here to, on the first key I'm going to do 0 and 0 and 0 and 0. We can maybe do 0 and 0. And then I'm going to right click, add key, and I'm going to add 0.1. It's going to have 1. So basically it will go from invisible, so you won't be able to see it, to quickly going to fully visible, and then slowly going back to invisible, so disappearing. So I think this will look good. Then for gravity force we checked, soul forces and velocity, that's fine. We need to add one more node here in particle update, which is the sub UV. That's for the sprite. So sub UV animation, and here that will be linear sprite. Here you got warning, so we're going to select the sprite renderer, and I'm just going to slow this down this time. So this value speeds it up or slow it down. So I'm going to do like 0.5. You can't see it very well because they're like shooting out of the top, so we need to change that as well. So for shape location, we're going to do cylinder, and cylinder can be only like 20 high because I want to have it around the bottom of these ice spikes. So it's like a frost mist, so it keeps on the bottom. It doesn't like go all around. And then radius is 100, and midpoint we can leave as it is, random, this is all the same. Then for the velocity, this time we're gonna go from the point, and here I'm going to do velocity speed. I don't want to do random range float, so go back here and just do velocity speed like 10. Okay, so you can see now there is already a bit of frostings happening around here, so we just need to move it lower, same where the ice packs are. So in the initialized particle we do have the position offset, and that one we will change to, let's try -80. -80 might be fine, -75. Keep in mind that this bottom part of the spikes you can't see because that's in the ground. We want to have a little bit in the ground in case there is uneven terrain or anything else. So yeah, I think this should be fine. And then also for color, I'm going to change it again to, this time I'm going to use something a little bit more blue, so it's actually a bit more visible, like that. And we can also do 3 on the V value. There we go. Let's test it out. So I press B. There you go. There is a bit of frost, and then it disappears. We can probably make the sprites bigger because I feel like this is a little bit too small, so that will be done in initialized particle as well. And then here uniform sprite size can be 20 to 30. Yeah, that works. So 20 to 30. There we go. Yeah, that's much better. And then obviously if we want to add more effects like some ground exploding around it or some ice shards flying from it, you can also do another like burst or something and then create ice shards. But I don't want to do too many effects for no reason, and it would take forever as well. So if you want to add something, you can always add another emitter. So I'm happy with this as it is. So this will be the Niagara system that I'll be using. And now what we want to do is set up the ability. So let's go to third person, blueprints. First, enums. And again, we need to create ability in abilities enumerator, which will be ice spike. We can copy the name just so you don't mess it up. Close this, go to blueprints, structs and deities, and ability data table. And here we're going to add new one, and this row will be the same name, so ice spike, and then name will be ice spike. Description, I'm not going to put anything. Cooldown will be like 3 seconds so we can test it. And I actually got icon already this time, which doesn't happen to me very often. So I do have this icon which you can't really see very well probably, but yeah, that's my ice spike icon. And then color, again I'm going to use that frosty color right here. Cost, it will be mana because it's a spell, and 25. Requirements, I'm not going to set up now. Damage multiplier, maybe like 2, so all the damage on the player times 2. Arrows needed, we don't need effects. For now, I'm not going to set up effect, that will be in the next video because it will be very long again. And the actual slow effect is a little bit more difficult than any other effects or any other debuffs because we need to like consider if the target is overburdened or if he's, I don't know, wearing too much armor or something later on and stuff. So the speed is calculated a bit differently. So we'll leave that for next video. For ability damage type, of course, it's going to be cold damage. And then we'll save it. We need to open the ability component so we can edit it from the player. And here, just find your execute ability event. From the previous one I have a chain lightning, so again I'm going to pack this, collapse to nodes, and this one will be chain lightning. I already have a chain lightning as a function, so this one will be underscore chain lightning, or change this one to chain lightning loop because that's a looping function. And then color will be, I don't know, blue, purple, something in between. Yeah, that works. And now we have an ice spike here. So first thing that we want to do is probably, again, we can play montage. So let's just connect it to play montage so we can then add everything else. We need mesh, so get owner, and we have set it up to just get mesh message, connect this one and connect it before. And that will be the mesh that we will be playing on. Montage we don't actually have created, so let's go to animations, magic, and then for magic cast 3. Do we need the root motion? Yes, we do. So select the root motion on animation, and then right click and create anim montage. And that will be magic cast. Open it up. And here we just need to figure out where we want to cast that ice spike. So I would say just before he lifts arm completely, because this is where it comes from the ground. So maybe, yeah, somewhere here. Going to right click, add notify, and this one will be montage notify. Doesn't matter what you name it, there will be only one again that we need to use, so just cast or something. Save it, and then back in ability components, we will select it, which is magic cast. And on completed here, we want to, from the owner, so get owner again, we want to remove gameplay tag. which will be executing ability because we have just finished executing it. And then on notify begin is where we want to spawn the ice spike. So we're going to spawn system add location. And now for the location, we want to have the target, the enemy that we're actually targeting with the tab or whatever key you set it up on. So I have it set up on tab key. So what happens is basically when I'm going to search for it on a player because I can't remember. So we got lock on target. And here in this lock on target, so that's when we press tab, we're going to set the target actor. And this is the reference that we need to get, this target actor, so we can tell where we need to spawn that ice spike. So to get the target actor, we can create new interface function. So go to third person, blueprints, interfaces, and we can do it in combat, add new function, and this one will be get target. Simple as that. Except for target should be capital T. And then output, not the input, we're going to do type actor. So just actor, object reference. And this one will be target. So compile and save. And to return it, we need to go to player. And we do have this get target, double click on it, and just return this target actor variable. Right. Now in the ability component, we will get from the owner, we will get target, and that will be a notify begin. We need to plug it in before, and the target we can get actor location, and that's where we're spawning the ice spike. So the system at location will be ice spike, and everything else we will leave as it is. We don't need anything else here. And then we also don't want to cast it if we don't have a target. So before this, instead of doing it before where we're doing the checks before we're even executing the ability, we're going to do it just here because this is probably the specific ability that will have a target. Other than that, we will have to create in the abilities data table like new entry, which is like is targeting spell or something, and then check it. I'm just going to check it here before. So one more branch connected to ice spike, and what we can do is get owner and get gameplay tags. We want to check one tag, and again connected to ice spike. Sorry, I'm going back and forward. I'm just trying to add it in order. So gameplay tag that we're checking is hashtag, and we do have one that is character checks and targeting. This one here, which is this tag is being added every time we target something. So if you go back to player and check that lock on target, straight after we do have a targeting tag added. So we will know if the tag is on, that means we have a target. So in ability component, if it was found, exact match, that means we can continue. If it wasn't found, we can just play sound. Again, the error sound basically we have for everything. I'm using the object pickup here. And also don't forget that since we added the gameplay tag here for executing the ability, we need to remove it straight after because we haven't actually casted any ability. So get this part, get owner and remove gameplay tag, add it here, and this one will be is executing ability exactly like that. And now this is basically casting the ice spike. We can test it out if everything works. I don't think I added the cooldown and cost, so you won't be removing. I forgot to actually go to player and learn that ability. So in the regular graph, event graph, if you go to begin play, we need to learn one more ability, which will be ice spike from the ability component. Alright, add it, ice spike here. 1, there we go. So target the enemy. So I don't have any target. I can cast it, but then as soon as I target the enemy, there we go, I'm casting the ice spike. And to be honest, the animation is very slow, so I'm going to speed it up. But as you can see, that's kind of working well. Now I just want to cause some damage actually with it. If you want, as you can see, also the spikes are a little bit in the ground, so maybe we can move them higher up. Maybe in the ice spike we can do, for this one, I'm going to do minus 110 only. And for these ones, I'm going to do minus 60, so it will be higher up. And okay, what was the thing that I just said that I wanted to do? So abilities, right, mana cost and speeding up the animation. So we can do play rate, we can actually change it here directly. It will be 2, so twice as fast for casting. And then for, that's pretty much it. For damage, the damaging with the ice spike, what we need to do is here on notify begin, so when we actually cast it straight away, we don't need to check any collision with the ice spike, because we will just apply damage to that target. So first add these two functions that we have up here, which is remove cost and start cooldown, or you can find them here. So remove cost and start cooldown. And cost, I forgot where we had in cost in the beginning. So cost, that's fine, and start cooldown. And right after we're going to apply damage. So we need to get owner, get component by class, and this one will be combat component, and we can apply damage. So we're getting the owner's combat component, which will be player, because player is the one that is applying damage, so we need to call it from him. Hit result, this one is a problem because, as I said, we're not doing any checks for hitting. Basically, if we have a target, we spawn it on him. That target can still be like dodging later on when we have AI system, and if he's dodging, we won't actually hit him. But if he doesn't dodge, we will still try to apply damage. So for hit result, we're going to make hit result. And here, only thing we actually need is the actor that we have hit, and we have the target. So we'll connect the target. For location, we're going to get actor location. For impact points, I think that is the one we need as well. So connect the same thing, actor location, and then normal, impact normal. I don't think we're even using it for now anywhere, and everything else is fine. For damage multiplier, again, we're going to go from learned abilities and find. We're going to find this ability that we're executing, and then if we break it open, we do have everything we need here. So damage multiplier, damage causer is the owner, so connect the owner. Current stats, we need to get one more component by class, and that is the stats component of the player, and connect this one and get stats. So we'll just connect the apply damage function with everything. Effects will go from the abilities. Convert damage type is ability damage type, and ability itself. Connect this variable. Oops, what have I done? Connect this variable, so copy it and paste it here. Don't select it manually because it might be that we can reuse this whole cast for ice spike level 2 or something, so always connect ability. And this is how we apply damage. And now one last thing I wanted to actually do is, there is one issue that when you're running away from the target, you still have targeted enemy basically, but if you're running backwards towards camera, you will be facing away from him. So when you cast it, you're basically casting the spell behind you. And I don't want that, so I'm going to enable the control rotation we have set up. It's very easy, we're just going to add tag in the beginning. So from the owner, we're going to add gameplay tag. Oh, what have I done? Add gameplay tag. Set gameplay tag. Set gameplay tag. So set gameplay tag from true branch, and this one will be character checks control rotation. This will automatically start rotating the character towards the camera rotation, so where the camera is facing, which will always be on the target, because when we're targeting, we always facing them. So that will start rotating, and then we need to turn it off. We can't turn it off on the completed or on here, because that will just straight away turn it off. It won't even rotate. So we need to turn it off in the animation. So open this animation, and then we can do it the same way where this montage notify is. I'll just add one more track so it's not overlapping. Right click, add notify, and this one will be remove gameplay tag, which will remove the gameplay tag from the owner of this animation, which is player. And that will be checks control rotation. Alright, so let's test it out now. We should be able to cause damage as well. I do have quite a lot of damage in the player stats setup. So my stuff is only like 22, but then I do have some random poison damage or something. It's all being converted. So now I can't cast it when I'm trying to press it, as you can see. But I target this enemy, press 1. There we go, I rotate towards him, press 1. Crit. Instant kill. There we go, 96 damage. I can run from him and cast it quite quickly. And this is what I meant, that when I'm running away from him, as you can see, we have it set up so he doesn't need to be turned towards the enemy. But if I cast it before, I wouldn't turn around. Now I actually turn towards him. So there we go, crit. One shot, one kill. Alright, so that's pretty much it. So in the next video, what I want to do, as I said, I want to add the proper slow effect. So when we hit them, he will be like slowed by, I don't know, 70% or something. So he will be slowly running towards us for a couple of seconds. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next. Bye.